Hi, I am Stella Marbles. I am a mask designer, a drag performer, an events producer, and an all-around freak. When I was a kid, I was always artistic and weird and would just be making things out of whatever I could find in my house or in the woods. I just threw myself into theater and crafting, but I was always trying to fit in as much as I always felt like a weirdo. And I think that what made me into who I am today was finally letting go of all of those expectations and those restrictions and just embracing the weird little kid that I always was, but never had the confidence to be until now. I wanted to start my own club night and I wanted to start Cookie Jar because I felt like there needed to be a space that was for queer artists and for drag artists that didn't fit the mold and that weren't, the traditional cis male drag queen. A place where like the freaks and the weirdos and the drag creatures could thrive and could, do their art on their own terms and feel like they have a space that's for them. And I also wanted to create a queer space that kind of merged the cabaret scene and the kind of underworld club kid techno scene. That kind of dirty, gritty world is what I really love, but it's intimidating, especially for young women and young queer people. So I wanted to create a space that was inviting for not just queer people, but also younger straight people to explore our world and feel like they could be educated and could become a part of it in kind of a welcoming space. Since that, it's always been part of my life and part of my passion, I think. My first clubbing experience in London and kind of as a queer person and as a drag artist was about probably 3 years ago now. And it was funny because I'd been watching the club scene and the club community from the outside where I was at university in Exeter. So I connected with Prince JJ and Santee Storm and some of the other club kids in London. And so my first night out was with them, and it was kind of a headfirst deep dive into the crazy queer nightlife scene. And it was immediately just like an eye-opening experience and this like revelation of, wow, this is what I want to be, and this is the people that I want to surround myself with. Cookie Jar is different to other nights because it's an amalgamation of so many different artistic communities and so many different types of drag. I will have a live musician next to a drag king, next to a club kid. So both on stage and in the audience, it would just bring together so many different communities and people and really encourage people to embrace their weirdo and embrace their freak and try things they hadn't tried before. It was also just, I think, unique because we really invited people to dress up and to dress up to a theme, which a lot of nights do, but I think we have a lot of people dressing up at our nights who've never done that before. And it's a space where a lot of people for the first time feel like they can explore drag and feel like they can embrace queer culture. So that's something I think that's really special. And I really invite artists to do something that they're uncomfortable with or to try out kind of a performance that is pushing the boundaries of what drag is. So I've had an Ewok striptease by Lily Snatch Dragon. We've had an alien from the movie Alien on stage giving birth, which was Miss Terry Box. And we've even had a Care Bear break its chest and give us its beating heart, which was Luke's Lyca. We've had so many incredible performers on our stage, but I think the ones that are always the most moving to me are the ones that are about, political and social issues and kind of really engage with the heart of what it means to be a queer person and the challenges that we're facing today. For example, Shacona Fire has performed at Cookie Jar multiple times, and she always, addresses issues of, Black Lives Matter and the Black community, but also what it means to be a sex worker and kind of a non-binary person in the queer community. a similar an incredible performer is Lucia Blake, who is the founder of London Trans Pride. And she is an explosion on stage of just queer and trans, power and energy. And, she shoves it right in your face and is like, we are here and we are incredibly powerful and beautiful and you can celebrate that with us. So those are two performers who, again and again, just remind me why we do what we do and why Cookie Jar is such an important space, because it's fun, but it's also powerful and it's relevant, and we need to be having discussions about these issues, and drag and performance art is one of the best ways to do that. I think queer spaces are going to become more intersectional and are going to, mix with museums and with galleries, and I think we're going to take over as much as we can, because every aspect of culture has queerness in it. And I think queerness isn't just about your sexuality and your gender. It's also about a way of thinking about the world and a way of subverting traditional ideas and traditional ways of being. So I think the more aspects of culture that are queer, the better. Queer spaces are so important because they foster and they are this cultural hub for community, and for making friends and for making creative connections, working connections. And as much as we're starting to get those spaces digitally, nothing replaces actually being in that space with kind of the prejudices and the difficulties and the additional mental health issues that we face. Those spaces are literally lifesavers, and they are the lifeblood of, I think, what it means to be a queer person, having this chosen family and having a space where we can be ourselves and feel unrestricted and not having to worry about safety or how we look or how we're acting, and just get to be. And that's something that is still not fully possible in the real world. So protecting them is more important than ever, because we take for granted that they're always going to be there. Now that they're being put under threat, by government regulations, we have to stand up for these spaces and remind people why they're important, not just for us personally, but also culturally. Queer spaces have a huge impact on the culture of a city and on the culture of kind of the world.